Hey, Carson Bible Church, it is Wednesday evening, so that means it's time for us to spend some time in the Word and spend some time in prayer. So this evening I would like you to turn in your Bibles to Psalm 46, if you would. I will read the text. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars to cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Well, the whole theme of this psalm is that we will not fear, and we do not fear because all of our trust is in God, the Lord. So I think it's interesting, this psalm is written to the choir master, so this was probably originally like a hymn meant to be sung, and it really comes together in kind of three images or three metaphors in the opening verses 1, 2, and 3. We're given the image or the metaphor of the roaring seas and that being overwhelming to the mountains, and so that it says even though the mountains tremble as the waters roar and foam. And the imagery there, of course, of mountains is the idea of stability or longevity, and the image of stormy, roaring seas is the idea of chaos and uncertainty and danger. And so what the psalmist is saying with this metaphor is that even when it feels like all of our stability is giving way under chaos and disorder, we as believers in God have no reason to fear, because God himself is our refuge and strength. Even though all of our stable systems seem like they are in danger of collapsing, God himself is still a safe place for us to plant our feet. The second section here, verses 4 through 7, give the image of being in Jerusalem and this river flowing through the city. And we've talked recently about ancient warfare and laying siege to a city, and usually the first strategy was to cut off any supply lines from the outside. And so when a city is under siege, a water supply is a very serious concern. And that's what we see here in verse 6. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. And so it is giving the image of the nations surrounding the city of God, Jerusalem. And it says, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. It says, God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. So even though we may find ourselves locked up, shut in, and enemies surrounding us, God himself, his presence, is a flowing stream of safety and of protection and of sustenance. And then finally, in the third section, verses 8 through 11, we are taken to the image of a battlefield, an active battlefield, where it says that in verse 9, he makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. And so we see the instruments of warfare, and then we're given this command from God in verse 10: be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. In the midst of the chaos and confusion and danger of being in warfare on the battlefield, God says to be still. And I imagine that in the ancient world, to stand still on the battlefield was probably not a brilliant idea. It would probably put you in even greater danger. But the truth is that God himself actually is a safe place, even in the midst of battle. And God himself will be victorious over the enemies, the enemy armies who will attack his people. And so the whole idea in these three metaphors is that even in the midst of great danger, even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of confusion, and even under attack, God is our place of safety, and we need not fear, because God is our refuge and our help. So I would encourage you with that this evening. It's really important that we remember that the fear of the Lord really is the solution to all other fears. This past month in October, we celebrated Reformation Month, and it really was this hymn, Psalm 46, that inspired Martin Luther as he wrote, "A mighty fortress is our God." Of course, we call the great battle hymn of the Reformation, and I think that is appropriate for us today as well. I know a lot of us feel a lot of fear and anxiety, and a lot of us fear what we might lose, what stability we might lose, what chaos is waiting just around the corner, what dangers lie ahead of us. And it's important that we heed the words of the psalmist, that even in the midst of the gravest dangers, God himself is our place of safety, and he is our stability. Of course, the psalmist is writing at a time when God's presence with his people in close fellowship was localized, like in a tabernacle or in a temple. And as we read in the New Testament, we see Jesus say things like, "You can tear this temple down and I will raise it again in 3 days." We really see that God's presence is most directly found in Jesus Christ, the one and only Son of God. So to have this type of stability and safety and refuge that the psalmist is describing, we don't have to travel to a specific place or a region. We don't have to go to a building or a temple. We find it in Jesus. And my prayer for you tonight is that that would be a comfort and an encouragement to you, that no matter what chaotic things are happening around us, that in Jesus we can have the full safety and security of the God of the universe. God bless you. We'll see you soon.